Hello, all. Sorry for the slight delay, and welcome into the Yellow Jackets Hive podcast. And I'm your host, Emily, and this is obviously a very special off-season episode because tonight we are going to be diving into the first 4 episodes of the final season of Stranger Things. Hi, Kennedy. I was hoping you would be here. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. So, if you're here, I'm assuming that you've already watched. If not, be forewarned, this episode is going to be packed with spoilers. Like, I'm going to be touching on some theories within the fandom. I did some digging. This is the first time that I've went this hard with the show since Yellow Jackets. It's been really fun to scour social media to see what other people think and read their theories. And let me say, there are some really creative and smart people within the Stranger Things fandom. That is for sure. Like I said, I'm going to be touching on some theories, plus the Stranger Things play, The First Shadow, which directly ties into season 5 and gives very important backstory on a certain character who has become a major player since season 4. Henry, aka Vecna, aka 1. And let me start by just saying that I don't think that I've been this excited for the premiere of a season of television since Game of Thrones was on TV. The hype that has been built around this season has been so unreal. I mean, there's Target commercials, there's Discover commercials, there's Chips Ahoy Stranger Things. Like, they are pulling out all the stops, aka Mr. What's It. Yep, add another name to the list. And as Derek said, that's too many names to keep track of. But and in my opinion, like as pertaining to the hype, hello Raven, nice to see you. In pertaining to the hype, like the Duffer Brothers, they delivered big time with the ending of episode 4 in particular. Stranger Things are going out with their guns blazing. Agreed. Now, the Duffer Brothers have said that they wanted season 1 to end, or volume 1 of season 5 to end with both a high point and a low point, with the high point being that it's revealed that Will has powers, and the low point being that Vecna successfully managed to get all those kids into the Upside Down to do whatever it is he wants to do. Max. Yes, Kennedy, Max. So since we don't have a trailer specifically for volume 2 of the final season, all we can really do is theorize and speculate about what's going to come next. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go through the episodes. We're not going to cover them in full, detail by detail. Otherwise, we'd be here for like 4 hours. So I just kind of went through and pulled things that caught my attention that I wanted to touch upon. So episode 1 is titled The Crawl, and that is a direct reference to the party's plan to get Hopper into the Upside Down and attempt to track down Vecna. That is what they call a crawl. And when the show opens up, we are actually in a flashback, and the date is November 12th, 1983. And if you remember, Will was originally taken into the Upside Down on November 6th of 1983. So, and the date of November 6th in particular seems to be very important, and I'll get to that eventually. But what we're seeing in this flashback is 6 days after he was originally taken. So this means he had been hiding from the Demogorgon and Vecna like that whole time, that poor kid, in that environment by himself for 6 days before that even worse thing happens to him. But that makes me ask a question, like, why Will in particular? Like, why did Vecna seek Will out in the beginning before all this transpired? Like, we know that Vecna initially said that he saw Will as weak and easily manipulated, but as we know now, he's anything but weak. And after the flashback ends, we jump back to the present day storyline, and the date is November 3rd, 1987, which is only 3 days shy of the 4-year anniversary from when Will was originally taken into the Upside Down. So roughly like 17 to 18 months have passed since the end of season 4, I think. And I was just wondering, does anyone know why the buyers are seemingly now living at the Wheeler residence? Like, I did a rewatch of all the seasons, but I did rewatch season 4 and like I ended it in October, so it's been a minute since I saw what happened at the very end. I can't remember, did like a Demogorgon come in and destroy it, or what's going on there? Or are they all just banding together because everything's crazy? But again, Karen and Ted have no idea what's going on. So, like, what's their reason for being there? But, anyways, because Joyce didn't have a house anymore. Okay, what happened to the house, though, Kennedy? I can't remember. Like, I'm drawing a complete blank as to that plot point. Did it get destroyed? Like, I couldn't remember if it was like in the direct path of he clings to the people who have something that internally hate about themselves, will do whatever it takes to keep the secret. That's a solid point, Alexandra, regarding why Vecna took Will. But she sold it before. Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense that she sold the house before they moved to California. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you telling me. But we then see Robin and Steve, who are now co-workers at the Squawk, which let me just show you guys real quick. The Squawk. I saw it and I couldn't resist. But the local radio station in Hawkins. And Robin is announcing that this is actually her 500th broadcast, which I took to mean that they started doing these radio shows not long after Vecna opened the gates at the end of season 4. And she gives a quick rundown as to where things stand in Hawkins and what's going on, which I appreciated. It was kind of like a catch up for everybody who forgot, you know what I mean? And she references the gates opening, Rockin' Robin, yes. She references the gates opening under obviously false pretenses because no one knows what's really happening. And she also mentions those mysterious white particles that fell from the sky afterwards, which I think everybody kind of thought was snow, but I don't think it was the time of year that snow typically falls. So I'm so curious as to how they actually like managed to explain away all of those details. But I don't really think the military honestly knows what's actually going on either. Like, I think they're trying to figure out, but they're just as clueless as everybody else in reality. And they can't leave because of the quarantine. Yes, very true. It seems like everybody they can't explain it. That's why they're quarantined. Yeah, that's good point. Good point. Robin makes a comment about being stuck with her fellow quarantine compatriots, which, as we all were just saying, tells us that Hawkins is officially cut off from the outside world at this point. She says that they're all required to participate in free mandatory health checks, which I'm assuming is the military double checking to make sure that no one's being affected by the upside down that has leaked into the right side up, if you will. The military aspect is kind of boring. Yeah, it's kind of overplayed at this point. I would agree. I mean, it's been a recurring theme in all the seasons, and I don't know why we even need the military to factor in at this point. We have a villain because I don't know. It's 2020 in the 1980s. But we also see that the military has covered up the openings into the upside down with these giant metal sheets, and kids are like sledding down it, which that's really creative and probably really fun. But all of this is centered around an area that is referred to as the Mac Z, which surrounds the main gate, which is at the library. And I was really sad. Where did you get your sweater? I got it at Target, Kennedy. They don't have Target in Canada though, do they? I recall someone telling me that before, but if you want, I could always buy one and ship it to you. Let me know and I will, no problem. And it kind of made me really sad to see Dustin appearing so moody and depressed. It's so unlike the Dustin that we have come to know and love over the past 4 seasons. And Dustin is my favorite character. So it made me really sad to see him in this mindset. It's such a change from the past 4 seasons. And it's really obvious that he's struggling to cope with Eddie's death. And even though it's been quite some time, I think part of the problem is that everybody else thinks that Eddie is this horrible person. He's this monster. And Dustin knows the truth. Dustin knows what Eddie did. And Eddie literally sacrificed himself to save other people. And it just, that makes it that much harder for him to try to get over that. And can we talk about Lucas? When he showed up on my screen for the first time, I was like, holy glow up. He is so tall, and the hair makes him look even taller. But I loved seeing the whole gang like group up on that jock Andy that was harassing Dustin for wearing the Hellfire t-shirt. It was so satisfying to see the tables turned on the jock and have Dustin, Mike, and Lucas all like cornering him and making him feel like shit. Loved it. And meanwhile, Elle has clearly been working on strengthening her powers, as we see with the obstacle course that her and Hopper and Joyce had set up. And she kept trying to beat her time of 12 minutes and 30 seconds, if I remember correctly, it was. But I mean, she's able to like literally leap over a bus now, which and a fence, as we see it later on. And that's all new. And I don't know about you guys, but I was a little annoyed watching Jonathan and Steve compete for Nancy's attention when they were trying to fix the radio tower issue. Like, Steve is, again, probably tied with Dustin for my favorite character of the whole series. And I really don't want his arc in the final season to be reduced to him pining over Nancy. Because it seems like he's grown, since their breakup. And I want him to have some freaking dignity and have his own happy ending that doesn't involve Nancy. Because if Nancy and Jonathan want to be together, cool, good, go. There's somebody else out there better for Steve. Not that I dislike Nancy. I actually really like her. Yeah, fighting for her attention was lame. Agreed. It really was. But, and Murray now seems to be serving as the party's smuggler, bringing in whatever they may need from outside the quarantine zone to help them in their quest to track down Vecna. And I don't think he was actually doing that. I think he was doing it to bug Jonathan. Well, I hope that's the reason why, and not because he wants to steal Nancy away from him. But, and during this supply drop, he also lets them know that the military is planning another burn, which is how they send resources into the Upside Down. And during this, we learn part of the reason why Robin took this job at the radio station. It gives her a way to send the group encoded messages about their missions. Like, these kids are so freaking smart. And you have to remember, like, this was not now. They did not have all the technology that we have at our fingertips to do this shit. Like, they're looking at maps on a freaking projector. Like, I guarantee there's people out there who have never even seen a projector before. And I remember taking notes off of them in high school. So just made myself feel really old. But when we see her sending this message, she plays the song Upside Down by Diana Ross, which I think is kind of their cue to listen into what she has to say. And she reveals that a burn is scheduled for that night at 10 p.m. in the Northeast Quadrant, and that the supply drop is going to take probably a total of 2 hours, which gives Hopper ample time to go in and search the Upside Down, apparently. And like I just said, for a bunch of high schoolers and middle schoolers, they are so smart and so resourceful. Like, it amazes me constantly. I remember doing reports off projectors. Okay, Kennedy, there. You just made me feel a little bit less old. So they start preparing for their crawl, like Hopper going into the Upside Down. And we see Will, Dustin, Lucas, and Mike talking through their plans when Will suddenly gets a case of the goosies, as the Duffer Brothers and Steve Harrington like to refer to it, when he gets that feeling on the back of his neck when he knows that Vecna or the Hive Mind is nearby. I love that song and scene of Upside Down by Diana Ross. I actually really like that song too. It fit perfectly. It was just such a good choice. I bet the younger actors didn't even know what projectors are. I bet you're right. I bet you're right. So since Will only gets these goosies when Vecna is nearby, it's pretty clear that from the start that this moment is tied to Vecna in some way. And we also learn that Holly has a mysterious friend. Sorry, guys. Holly has a mysterious friend that she calls Mr. Whatsit. And he has been telling her that there are monsters in Hawkins that come for little kids. And of course, no one but Holly can see this Mr. Whatsit, as we see when her teacher catches her talking to him outside at school, and her teacher sees no one. And it was really sweet to me to see the moment where Will catches Robin and Vicky kissing in the hospital. It subtly reinforced to him that there's not anything wrong with him, and the fact that he has these feelings for Mike, which he may not fully understand yet, but that they're valid. And it was also really sweet to see Mike comforting Holly when you see their mom having that conversation with her teacher about talking to Mr. Whatsit. And just the things that he said to her, and how he told her that she's a cleric and gave her the little piece to put on a necklace. And it was really cute. And we see that Hopper's way into the Upside Down is by sneaking onto one of the trucks that's in the military convoy that they actually send the supplies into the Upside Down. And once they pass through the gate at the library into the Upside Down, the convoy is almost immediately attacked by a Demogorgon. And during the attack, it looks like Will is experiencing the whole thing through the Demogorgon's eyes. Like he is seeing what that Demogorgon who is attacking that convoy is seeing, which for any of you Game of Thrones fans out there, it made me think about when Bran was able to use his warg abilities to go inside of his direwolf, and you could see him attacking people through the direwolf's eyes. That's what it made me think of. And during this attack, he sees it sprinting straight towards the Wheeler house in the Upside Down, obviously, but we know it's going towards Holly in particular. It made me think of Harry Potter. Yes, Kennedy, it did also make me think of Harry Potter too. It did. I agree with that. And made me this Will's arc so far has made me think of Harry Potter as well, and I will touch on that later. But shout out to Ted Wheeler for maintaining his title as the most clueless dad in America, whacking the golf balls into the darkness in his backyard just moments before the Demogorgon crashes into his house to try to kidnap his daughter. And then episode 2 is titled The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. And the title of this episode is obvious, as the main plot point is given away within the title itself. Because yes, Alexandra, yes, very, very correct. That's my thoughts too. And Karen Wheeler is a low-key wino, and I love that for her. It was the poor woman just wanted to enjoy a glass or a bottle of wine at the end of her day after her husband not having any clue what she's talking about, and her daughter talking to no one, and her 2 other children literally telling her nothing ever. Give her a freaking break. But the contrast of having the ABBA song playing while she's getting ready to get into the bath, completely oblivious as to what's happening to her daughter in the very next room, it was so good. I loved it. But like I said, all she wanted was that bath. And then Holly storms into that bathroom freaking out. And Karen realizes real quick that something is clearly not right when she feels slime on the back of her daughter's head. But it was such a genius choice to have Karen and Holly hide in the bathtub. Although I don't know if Ted wouldn't have yelled out to them. There's a chance that it would have found them under the water anyways, right? Like, don't you think? But Karen had literally no idea that another dimension is bleeding into Hawkins, or that her daughter is the target of a monster that is trying to take over the world. And yet, despite the fact that she was super buzzed, she turned into such a badass when she broke that wine bottle. Stay away from my daughter. And she went to town going at that thing. I thought she actually did some real damage there too. But like mom tried so hard to save Holly. Exactly. Like she did everything in her power that she physically could to try and save her daughter. Yet, as we know, she was unsuccessful. And I was kind of surprised that she survived. But shortly after the Demogorgon shreds Karen up and takes Holly, Nancy and Elle then show up and see Karen and they get help. And Elle follows the Demogorgon through the portal that it created when it went back into the Upside Down from the Wheeler house. And she tries to pursue it and chase it. She eventually ends up running into Hopper when she goes into the Upside Down, and they then run into some kind of wall. Like, I don't know how to explain what it looks like. It looks like to me, it looks like what the Mind Flayer looked like in season 3 when it like dissolved all the rats and the people and like formed this big blob. Like that's what the wall looked like to me. Like it looked like it was made out of the same like material, if you will. But and like I just said, I'm honestly surprised that they let Karen live. But it makes sense because she obviously had some crucial information that she needed to pass along to Nancy and Mike to help find Vecna. And once Karen and Ted are taken to the hospital, I got an answer to a question that I had after watching the trailer for the for the final season when it was released a couple months ago or weeks ago, however long ago it was, I don't remember. But in the trailer, there's a shot of Nancy in a bathroom and she's washing blood off of her hands. And as we saw in this episode, that is why she was doing that. She was trying to wash Karen's blood off of her hands after she saved her life and got her help into the hospital. But after watching these 4 episodes, I also went back and watched the trailer again. And if I remember correctly, there's only like 3 or 4 shots from the trailer that they released for the final season that we haven't seen yet. So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to give us like a teaser or trailer for the last 4, but I don't know. I'm thinking not, because they really want to keep this like under lock and key until everyone sees it. Because if I'm correct, I don't even think the cast has seen the final episode. Like they will not see it until we see it. So I don't know. But when they're in the hospital after Holly goes missing, Lucas asks a really interesting and valid question. Why didn't the Demogorgon kill Karen and Ted outright when Holly was taken? Like, why didn't it ensure that they were dead before it left? If Vecna truly wanted Nancy and Mike to suffer, why did he spare them? Why did he let them live? It's a good point, and I think that it feels intentional. And Lucas is the one to also point out the significance of the date that Holly was taken. And he says that she was taken this day and Will disappeared this day. And like, he doesn't believe in coincidences anymore. And let's be real, it's not a coincidence. We all know that. Robin, being the observant soul that she is, perfectly describes Will's connection to the hive mind with this analogy. She compares it to a radio antenna. Like, the closer the antenna is to the thing giving off the signal, the clearer the connection. That's why when Will moved to California, he lost all feeling of Vecna and the hive mind, at at all, because he was physically so far away that he couldn't connect to it. So obviously this means that the closer Will is to the upside down in Vecna, the stronger his link to the hive mind becomes. And she's right. Like, they test this theory during their little field trip to Hawkins Middle School, which is where they piece together that Will is actually able to sense which kids are going to be targeted next through that connection. And he realizes that Derek is the next one that Vecna is going to go after. It's also super weird. Mike's dad was super shady in season 1, then just a back character who's oblivious to respond in any way shady. Shady, I just always felt like he was like dumb. Like, doesn't Karen say that like he doesn't even know how old his daughter is or something? Like, he just seems so utterly oblivious to everything. But it's also super weird seeing Steve and Dustin at odds, like, instead of their usual banter. Their dynamic is by far my favorite of the entire show. Especially after Dustin ends up showing up post cemetery beatdown. Like, it's obvious that Steve really cares about Dustin and wants to be there for him and be a good influence for him. He's a typical 80s dad. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of true. But like I said before, Dustin is still really struggling with Eddie's death. And kudos to Nancy Wheeler for her quick thinking idea to dress up as a candy striper in order to gain access to be able to see her mom. And it's there that they piece together that Mr. Whatsit is actually Henry, aka Vecna himself. I screamed as she was writing out Henry on the paper. Like, as soon as she mentioned the fact that he had a pocket watch, game over. Like, Vecna could not be anyone else. But once we finally see Holly actually with Henry, a much bigger question for me emerges. Why did he take her to the 1950s version of the Creel house? Like, why is he tucking her into this memory that he has instead of like just letting the Demogorgon yank her into the upside down and letting her see everything as it is? Every other victim that we have seen, from Will in season 1, as we know now, to Chrissy and Fred and all the other people in season 4, has been exposed to the terror of Vecna's like domain, where he lives, where he resides. He overwhelms them. He frightens them. He ripped them apart psychologically. He tortured them. Like, we saw what he did to Max and what he did to Chrissy, like, until he just finally goes through and kills them. But with Holly, he has placed her inside of a memory, a safe, idealized memory from his childhood. Like, he's actively shielding her from the nature of the upside down. So why? Like, why is he doing that with her? There is a theory floating around online that I cannot stop thinking about. Someone pointed out that this version of Henry, the version that Holly sees, the one that existed before 11 banished him into the upside down, doesn't actually exist anymore. Like, physically, he is gone. He is no more. This is just like a fragment of him. So could this be Vecna's like buried consciousness, like the Henry part of this trying to overpower the evil part? Like, and like, if that's true, like, who is really in control here? Like, is Vecna purely Henry, or is Henry trapped somewhere inside his own creation now, like forced to watch as this more corrupt version of himself continues to take over and perpetuate everything. And is him protecting Holly like his unconscious attempt to resist further going in that direction? Horcrux. What do you mean by Horcrux? Because I think that if anything is a Horcrux in this story, it's Will. So, or like, so what do you mean? Elaborate for me, Alexandra. I'm curious. But whatever the explanation is, it's weirdly gentle compared to everything that we have seen from him up to this point. It feels very intentional and it's obviously important. Like Vecna does not protect people. He does not comfort children, except for the kids that he's approached as Mr. What's-It. So the fact that he's doing it now suggests that like obviously something has shifted or someone else could be pulling the strings here. Episode 3 is titled The Turnbow Trap, and this episode title reflects the party's plan to kidnap Derek, which, as we know, was Vecna's next target. And I have to say that I'm a fan of Derek. His comedic banter and delivery is kind of like what we need this season to counteract the heaviness of like where things have gotten for the kids who aren't really kids anymore. And for some reason, it seems that Elle's powers have no effect on this blob-like wall that she and Hopper have come across. She tries to part it so they can get through it, and nothing. And things end up getting worse for them very quickly because the military discovers that 11 is in the Upside Down, and they manage to track her down. And they have some kind of like frequency machine that sends out like, I don't even know, like sonic waves or something that mess with 11's abilities and kind of disable her altogether, rendering her useless. Like she was laying on the ground, like covering her ears and like crying in pain. So it has to hurt too. But of course, like Hopper comes through. Maybe he uses people as a Horcrux in a sense, which would mean whomever he controls needs. Okay. But like Hopper and Elle are another duo that I really love. Their dynamic. It's very touching to see Hopper show that kind of love for someone after losing his daughter the way that he lost her. Dire, he'll never be destroyed. Yes, got it. But they end up taking one of Dr. K's soldiers hostage, and they rough him up trying to get some intel out of him about what is going on, what the wall is, all that. And during this scene, before they interrogate him, Elle brings up to Hopper that this soldier peed on the wall when they were looking for Elle and Hopper. And when he did pee on it, it definitely seemed to have some kind of effect on the wall. Like it looked like it burned it or something. And this makes Elle think that he knows more about it than he's going to pretend that he does. So they interrogate him. Elle actually goes inside of his mind. She sees the military base in the Upside Down, the location. And she goes through and she comes across that secret corridor and door that she knows that there's some major force of energy behind, but she can't get past it. I think he was just being a dick by peeing on it. That very well could be, but like something did happen when he peed on it. So maybe she's onto something. I don't know. And after Elle sees this, she suspects that it's Vecna behind the door. And I had a very hard time buying that thought that he could be so easily controlled by a bunch of humans, like with guns, when we know that guns don't really seem to have any effect on him whatsoever. But meanwhile, back with Holly and Henry, he continues to go to extreme lengths to make her feel safe, like even down to the fact that he gave her blackberries with her pancakes for breakfast. Like, and she was like, how did you know they were my favorite fruit? He's like, oh, I'm good at hunches. Like, ew, weirdo. But another thing I couldn't stop thinking about, like, how did Henry explain away the scary ass Demogorgon kidnapping her and pulling her into the Upside Down? Like, we know she saw the Demogorgon, she saw it in her house. So, did he like rescue her? Is that why she trusts him so much? Like, oh, I'll save you from the danger. Like, obviously, a kid that age is going to instill trust in someone that goes to those lengths to keep them safe. There's another theory that I saw that water. Oh, that's interesting. His life for her may lead to Hopper's demise, like Darth Vader. Yep, that's true. But when Henry leaves Holly at the Creel house, he stresses to her that she cannot leave the house and go into the woods past the playground. And he kind of hints that there's monsters out there, which I don't know about you, but I didn't think he meant Demogorgons. I just wasn't sure what he meant, because if this is a memory, why would there be Demogorgons in it? But it becomes very clear in that scene that somebody is lurking in the woods, kind of spying on Holly. And once Holly is alone, we see her dancing in her bedroom to the tape that Henry left in the mailbox for her. And suddenly she hears the doorbell ring. And I knew that there was no way that it was Vecna. Like, he wouldn't suddenly get rid of this facade that he had provided for her without a reason. And as soon as I saw the map and the handwritten note in the mailbox, like, I immediately knew who it was. Immediately. And I was so happy I was right. So the party decides to come up with a plan to get Derek to safety before Vecna can get to him. And I loved how Joyce casually was like totally okay and condone kidnapping a child, because kidnapping that child was going to save him. So it's okay under those circumstances. And they then have to enlist Erica into their plan because they need a way to get into the Turnbow house. And Erica happens to be besties with Tina Turnbow, Derek's sister. We finally got to meet the Tina that we've heard so much about. But I've loved Erica ever since she threw out that line, "You can't spell America without Erica." Like, I knew I was going to love her from that moment. But their plan involves not only getting Derek to safety, but also shooting a Demogorgon with a tracking device so that they can follow its movements through the Upside Down, hoping that it will lead them to Vecna from the radio van that they have at the Squawk in the right side up. And I lost it when Dustin drilled the hole into the top of Steve's BMW. It was so funny. But like, you can't blame him. He was watching Steve rip stuff out of that van to try to make it lighter so it would go faster, when, hello, they have a car that is clearly capable of going a lot faster than that van, even if they rip the van down to the studs. So smart thinking again, Dustin. And meanwhile, we see that Murray smuggled a diamond ring in for Jonathan on his latest supply run, which is an obvious indicator that he has intentions of proposing to Nancy at some point. But is he going to actually get the chance to propose at all? Like, I don't know. And I laughed so loud when Derek's mom tells his sister Tina to answer the front door, and when she does, to be nice, except for if it's a Mormon or a Democrat. That was just so funny. And then their plan kicks into action. Erica shows up at the Turnbow residence with her benzo-laced pie. Benzo's courtesy of Robin raiding the hospital. And crocodile tears, apologizing to Tina for being the reason that they had their falling out. And the reason for their fight in the first place is so hilarious. Like, everyone in the Turnbow family, except for Tina, because she's counting her calories, dig into the pie. And we then find out that Tina was mad at Erica for chucking a dodgeball at the boy she likes face. And Erica, of course, doesn't hold back and calls him a pussy for his reaction. She is so funny. And then she tells Tina, like, and I told you to eat your damn pie. And then she just straight up shoots Tina in the neck with some drugs and makes her fall asleep. And so then Joyce, Robin, Erica, and Will whisk the Turnbows off to a remote barn on the far side of Hawkins, while the rest of the party turns the Turnbow residence into something straight out of a Home Alone movie. Like, seriously, it was like so creative, so well thought out. The like I said, they're so smart. They are such smart kids. The way they trap the Demogorgon in the barbed wire and then shoot it with the tracker and then set it on fire because they know that's going to send it fleeing back into the Upside Down was just, it was such an awesome sequence to watch. And Dustin and Steve are tasked with following the Demogorgon's signal in the right side up, and they're quickly joined by Jonathan and Nancy. And they do track it one way, only, hi Angie, only for it to suddenly completely reverse course and head right back in the same direction that it came from, which is the same path that Will and the others took with Derek and his family. And apparently the Demogorgon was able to track Derek again after he woke up from his Xanax-induced coma, which was really impressive to me that he woke up at all so quickly when we know that he ate more than one piece of pie. So bravo, Derek. But Will confirms what's happening through his connection to the Demogorgon. He knows that they know where they are. And the tail end of this episode is hands down my favorite scene so far. Holly decides to defy Henry's orders and leaves the Creel house following the map that's left in the mailbox. And she reaches a massive stone wall, which I'm assuming is the same wall that they're seeing in the Upside Down that's all gross. I could be wrong, but I don't know. That's just what I'm assuming at this point. And then we see Max Mayfield in the freaking flesh. And oh, I am so happy. I will elaborate a little more on this after we conclude going through episode 4. But episode 4 is titled The Sorcerer, and the title for the 4th episode is directly tied to Mike telling Will that he's a wizard within the game of D&D, but a sorcerer in real life, given that his psychic abilities are innate. And I don't know why Joyce thought that untying Derek was going to be a good idea, or that he was going to cooperate with them after being abducted by a random group of strangers with a really weird excuse for taking him in the first place. From Derek's perspective, Joyce probably looks like an evil child kidnapper, which is fair. And I have to give huge props to Will for finally taking some initiative and tackling Derek before he could run off and get away. It's been really nice to see this version of Will this season, more confident, less shy. And he's willing to step in and he wants to help if Joyce would just let him. But of course, the Demogorgon finds them and goes for Derek, but Joyce steps up front and center with that axe and tells the Demogorgon, if you want him, you're going to have to go through me. And I am loving seeing these moms just be so badass. It's great. But surprisingly, the Demogorgon doesn't attack Joyce. And Will once again seems to be seeing things through the Demogorgon's eyes when the Demogorgon is face to face with his mom. Then Steve and the gang arrive just at the right moment, and they run the Demogorgon over, which causes Will to collapse in pain, and the Demogorgon retreats back into the Upside Down. But Steve decides that it's time to drive his car through the opening into the Upside Down and follow the Demogorgon, which it works. Love that scene too, with Dustin like, oh my God, we're gonna die. So funny. But suddenly we have Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, Dustin, Hopper, and Elle all in the Upside Down. Yet Hopper and Elle have no idea that those kids are now in the Upside Down. But shortly after they safely get into the Upside Down, Steve runs directly into the fleshy looking wall. Ballsy move, Steve, but worth it. Yes, for sure. Drives it into the wall. And after the Demogorgon retreats back into the Upside Down, Will shows Joyce, Robin, Derek, and Erica like exactly what he saw when the Demogorgon went back into the Upside Down. That weird room with all the kids, like it almost seemed like they were a part of the Upside Down, and the vine was in their mouth, and like it was for Will when he was taken. But Will draws what he saw on the barn wall, and the group pieces together that Vecna needs 12 kids total to achieve his ultimate goal. Like there are 12 places for children to be in this area. But why 12? What is the significance of 12? There are 12 hours on a clock. Just saying. It is then revealed that the military has started rounding up all the kids from Holly's class and is taking them back to Max Z to keep them safe. And we later learn that this is all under Dr. K's orders. Like she seems to believe that Elle is the one that is kidnapping these children for some reason. She doesn't even have a real reason. She's like killing them, saving them. I don't know. Like she really doesn't have a reason. It's lame. But naturally, they start scheming a new plan to rescue the kids that Vecna is targeting at the military base. And this time, Derek becomes their inside man. And on a side note, has anyone noticed that Holly kind of resembles Alice in Wonderland, and Max is very much giving off Mad Hatter vibes, like specifically with the clothing that they're wearing, like Max's hair, Holly's hair, like the colors, the dress that Holly has on. I've seen a lot of that comparison online. But I digress. Max then explains to Holly how she's even here, how Holly's even seeing her, considering the fact that she should be dead. And I'm going to dive more into all of this and my thoughts on Max after I wrap up talking about episode 4. So Max tells Holly that she has a plan to escape for good, but it's going to require Holly to return to the Creel house so that Henry has no idea that anything is going on. And I felt so bad for Holly, but like she's game. She's like, tell me what I need to do. She's willing to do it. Meanwhile, Derek shows up at the Max Z and the plan to rescue the kids sets in motion. And I love Joyce giving him that little confidence boost. And remember, you're not dipshit, Derek. You're delightful, Derek. And she's like, sometimes all you need is somebody to believe in you to make you feel good about yourself and like you can do it. And fair point, Joyce. Fair point. Elle and Hopper begin their mission to infiltrate the military base in the Upside Down. And it was really touching to see Hopper giving 11 some freedom and allowing her to do the things that she's literally been training to do and contribute in a meaningful way to their situation. Like I said, their dynamic remains one of my favorite parts of the show. Like it's very clear that they need each other. And I'm glad that they have each other. As the party heads into the tunnels to distract the kids, Mike and Will have a conversation about Will's ability to see through the Demogorgon's eyes during the showdown that it had with Joyce. Like Will says that he felt helpless, like that he felt paralyzed, that he couldn't do anything to help her. But Mike is like, wait, maybe you did help her. And He says that Will was protecting her with his ability to tap into the hive mind and controlling the Demogorgon, like calling Will a sorcerer. He emphasizes that Will's abilities are innate and unique and different from his role in D&D. And Robin witnesses this conversation transpire, and she very quickly realizes that part of Will's curiosity about her romantic life is definitely tied to Will's feelings for Mike. And Lucas, Will, Robin, Mike, and Joyce all head for the tunnels to reach the Maxi and retrieve the kids. Meanwhile, in the Upside Down, Dustin, being the genius that he is, makes a huge realization. He tells Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve that the wall is not a wall at all. It is actually a circle surrounding the Upside Down, with Hawkins' lab being dead center of the circle. And I took that to mean that that is where Holly and the other children that Vecna has taken are physically being held. That is where they are within the Upside Down, in the lab. But one of the most touching moments happens next. Robin and Will's conversation in the tunnels. It actually made me tear up a little bit. The way that Robin encourages him to love himself for who he is and tells him that everything that he needs inside of, like, is already inside of him. He doesn't need someone else to be happy. It was just really, really moving and meaningful. And we saw how crucial that pep talk was later on for Will. Without that, he may not have ever honed in that ability to let the powers take over. But back in the Upside Down, Elle and Hopper managed to infiltrate the military base and attempt to access the secure corridor that Elle saw within the soldier's mind. But when she uses her powers to open the door, it triggers an alarm and activates the device that suppresses her abilities. And Dr. K and her soldiers rush in to capture her, or so she thinks. And Hopper makes quick work of the soldiers and then has kind of a showdown with Dr. K. And for a second there, when that thing from the Upside Down was wrapped around his neck, I really thought that he was going to be a goner for a second. But I'm glad he wasn't. So after Hopper knocks her out, he goes for the corridor and tells Elle that she needs to head to where Dustin, Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan are to get herself safe, because she's useless with that alarm in effect. She can't do anything. But Elle refuses and waits outside the door for him. And when he opens the door, I think that's what makes the thing that disables Elle's powers stop working. At least I think. And thank God she didn't leave, because what Hopper finds behind that door is not Vecna. It is 8, aka Callie, Elle's long lost sister from way back when in season 2. And side note, I know a lot of people were not a fan of that plot line, but I'll get to that in a second. Back in the Right Side Up, the party arrives at the Maxi and starts to extract the kids through a hole under the barracks bathroom floor. And Derek is hilarious here with his circle of all the kids that they're gonna take. It's called visualization. Mom does it when she's had a Valium. That made me laugh so hard. But things go sideways, and they go sideways really fast. When Lucas or Mike, whoever it was, initially broke through the ground to get into the barracks, they hit a pipe, which eventually causes pipes to burst and flood in the bathroom, which leads to them being discovered. Robin and Lucas both managed to escape with 2 kids each, but Joyce, Will, and Mike, and several of the children they were trying to help are all caught. And then absolute chaos erupts. Demogorgons start popping up everywhere and annihilate the soldiers in seconds. And just when it looks like the military may be starting to gain a little bit of control of the situation, like they set a Demogorgon on fire, which caused all the other ones to collapse in pain, and will too. But then Vecna shows up. And this is the first time that both Mike and Joyce are seeing Vecna with their own eyes. So that had to be really terrifying for them. But after slaughtering the remaining soldiers, Vecna drags Will to him, and he asks Will, "Can you see the children?" and explains why he took them, sort of. I think Derek was a great addition to Stranger Things. He's a breath of fresh air and a comedian. Yes, agreed, Angie. But he tells Will why he took them. Like, they're weak, easy to manipulate, and perfect vessels for his endgame. He tells Will that Will is the reason that he realized what he was capable of doing. What he did to Will opened the door of possibilities for Vecna. And then he says to Will that some minds don't belong in this world. They belong in his, in Vecna's world, which he's implying that like there's something wrong with Will, that he's broken, that he's damaged, that he's not normal. And then he just like drops him to the ground. And the Demogorgons start dragging the kids back into the Upside Down. And he commands some Demogorgons on Lucas, Mike, and Robin. And just when it feels like all hope is gone, Will Byers turns into freaking Harry Potter. Oh my God. What an ending. Holy shit. The moment that he hears Robin's voice echoing the monologue that she gave to him in the tunnels, and the montage of the memories that he see, which are the same memories that Joyce, Jonathan, and Mike all used to try to pull Will from under the control of the Mind Flayer in season 2, when they have him in the shed with all the windows blacked out and the spotlight on him so he doesn't know where he is, and he's doing the SOS on the chair to show that he's still in there. Like, those memories were all from that. And oh man, I cried. It was such a powerful way to show Will like reclaiming the power that Vecna forced onto him and using it to fight back against him. Like, such an epic conclusion to the first 4 episodes. Like, well done. And now that we have gone through all 4 episodes, there are a few things I want to go a little bit deeper on. So let's start with the reveal of Elle's sister, Callie, aka 8. Like I said a little bit ago, I was unaware of this until I was like doing research for this episode. And I guess a lot of people were not a fan of that storyline, the fact that they brought her in. And I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I was always hoping that it wasn't just going to be that, and they would eventually somehow bring her back into the story, like that she was shown for a reason. And like, I thought, are we ever going to see her again? And obviously I got my answer with this episode. It's revealed that the secret source of power that Elle was able to detect behind that door in the lab was not Vecna. It was her sister. Dr. K somehow managed to find her sister and kidnap her. But like, why did she kidnap her? What exactly was she doing to her in that room? Because it looked like she was surrounded by the same devices that they used to disable Elle. And it looked like they were collecting her blood. So like, could that possibly have something to do with it? And if we know 11 by now, like, she's not leaving her sister behind. And it just makes sense for her to join in the fight against Vecna at this point. And we all know, but as we all know, 8's abilities are much different than Elle's abilities. We witnessed 8 manage to make a police officer imagine that he was seeing a tunnel collapse in front of him that he was about to drive through, when the tunnel actually never collapsed at all, indicating that like she has the ability to make people see what she wants them to see, kind of thing. Like, but how could a power like that be useful in regard to Vecna? Could she start making Vecna imagine certain things that could possibly fracture like his mind and his psyche, and that would like loosen the grip on what he's able to control? Maybe 8 can only create illusions if people are somewhat close to her. Maybe. But in an interview with Deadline after the 4 episodes dropped last Wednesday, the Duffer Brothers said, in pertaining to Kelly in particular, as you get into the second volume, you really see how she fits into the narrative and Eleven's journey. And she plays a really important part moving forward. So regardless of what ends up playing out on our TV screens, like she's going to continue to be a part of this season in some fashion. The military probe wants to harness her power to use it in battles there and elsewhere. That's a good point. So now we're going to touch on Max and the cave and the play The First Shadow. So as soon as we saw Holly in the Creel house, which appeared perfectly normal, like I knew this had to be Vecna controlling her mind, like what she was seeing, where she believed she was. When Holly initially hears that knock on the front door of the Creel house, I wasn't sure who it could be, like other than Vecna himself. But when she sees the flag up on the mailbox and she looks at the note and the map, like I instantly knew. The note obviously claims to be from Henry, but I knew that that was a lie for a few reasons. Number one, like I mentioned before, we see someone watching Holly from the woods. And like there's no way it was a Demogorgon. Vecna placed Holly where she thinks she is for a reason, like away from all of those monsters. People have been saying, I will talk about that, Kennedy. Don't you worry. Number two, before Henry leaves, he tells Holly specifically not to go in the woods on the other side of the playground. We see on the map that she gets that the directions take her exactly where Henry tells her specifically not to go. And the note is left after Henry tells her that. I don't think that he necessarily wants to trick her, but he's guarding her from his reality for a reason. I'm just really not sure what that reason is. Number three, the writing, the physical writing on the piece of paper. As soon as I saw that writing, it screamed teenage girl. And it was Miss Max Mayfield herself. I started thinking about how she kept telling Lucas about how she was going to hide inside of a memory. And that is exactly what she did. Only it wasn't her memory. It was Henry's memory. And I was so happy with this reveal, like, and the way that they chose to bring Max back into the storyline. It would have been so boring and frankly very disappointing to just watch Sadie Sink lay in a hospital bed all season and that be all we get, because Max is probably my third favorite character. Like, and she brings so much to the show. My literal favorite episode of the entire series is Dear Billy, which is the episode in season 4 where she levitates to Kate Bush. Favorite episode of the entire series. Once Holly and Max unite, Max explains her predicament, aka how she is there at all when her body is physically lying in a coma in a hospital bed. And her consciousness is trapped inside of Henry/Vecna's memory prison. It broke my heart to see her as close to escaping as she was, only to have those chances dashed in a heartbeat. But so that we see Max is holed up in a cave inside of the mysterious rock wall that Holly walks to from the Creel house. She tells Holly that after she escaped the Upside Down in Vecna, she just kept running until she found this cave, and she ran inside of it and she hid, fully expecting Henry Vecna to follow her and kill her. But for some reason, when he approaches the cave, he stops. He doesn't follow her inside. And he looks terrified, as Max says. There is something about that cave that makes him refuse to go inside. And obviously, this cave holds great significance and meaning to him for reasons we don't know. So, naturally, my mind wondered why, and I did some digging. And this is a spoiler warning for those of you who know nothing about the stage play, The First Shadow, which directly ties into Stranger Things. And now, after this scene with Max, season 5 and Henry specifically. Even in the poster, she's asleep in Lucas's arms. Yeah, they did do a really good job with that. I agree, Kennedy. But the plotline of the play is actually Henry Creel's origin story, to put it in a nutshell. When we are introduced to him in season 4, like, we see a flashback of when he moves to Hawkins in 1959. And in the play, it's revealed that his family had previously lived in Nevada, in close proximity to a military base that performed a bunch of top secret experiments. During these experiments, one of the scientists stole some key technology and took it to a cave in Nevada, which was just a stone's throw away from where Henry and his family lived at the time. And one day, Henry happened to be out exploring said caves, and he stumbled upon this technology. And the technology ended up transporting him and the defector scientist to a place known as Dimension X, which I think is the origin of the Upside Down, if I understand correctly. I could be wrong. But while he was there, Henry was exposed to a shadowy entity. And after he was transported back to the real world, the right side up, and found, which he went missing for a total of 12 hours. Okay? 12. He now possessed a completely different, unique blood type and had a completely different personality and these psychic abilities. So this is my hunch as to the reason why Henry is afraid of this cave. Seeing this entity terrified him. And after he comes into contact with the entity in the cave as a child, the entity begins to influence him and his behavior in everyday life in dangerous ways for the people around him. As we know, he ends up murdering his mother and his sister, and I think his mother and his sister. And in the epilogue of the play is when we see Henry at Hawkins' lab, as we come to know him when we're introduced to him in season 4, when he's shown in the flashbacks with 11. Dr. Brenner, in the epilogue of the play, informs Henry that the blood transfusions administered to the test subjects had been successful, which brings me back to 8, Callie again. When 11 discovers Callie attached to the equipment, you can see bags of blood and IV drips attached to her arm. So it appeared as if they were drawing her blood and then using it to maybe power something. Given what Dr. Brenner says to Henry in the epilogue of the play, I kind of think it could be possible that that might be the key in destroying Vecna in the end of all this. If 8 had Henry's blood, then that means 11 has Henry's blood as well. I haven't seen the play, and I'm not okay with it. Only the Netflix documentary. I know. I want to see it real bad. But after Max finishes filling Holly in on literally everything, Max says she has an idea as to how they can escape. But this plan requires Holly to return to the Creel house so that Henry doesn't figure out that Max is nearby and they can somehow get out safely. I don't know what's going to happen to Max's physical body in the right side up, but there is not a doubt in my mind that that girl is not going to do everything within her power to try and protect Holly and get her to safety, even if it means sacrificing her own safety in the process. Max Mayfield, it is so good to have you back. Next, we're going to touch on Holly and her importance. Let me say this really quickly. I am not necessarily pro spoiler per se when it comes to the television that I consume. Like, it really just depends on the context of the spoiler and how that's going to impact my viewing experience. Sometimes I'm okay with it because I'm still excited to see it visually play out in front of me, but other times it really pisses me off. But for this season of Stranger Things, I tried my damnedest to avoid as many spoilers as I could that would lessen the viewing experience for me. But as hard as I tried, it was everywhere that Holly Wheeler was going to play, she was going to factor into the final season in a big way. And as we saw very quickly, she sure does. Holly gets taken into the Upside Down on November 3rd, 1987, which is almost 4 years to the day that Will was taken by Vecna. So there is obviously some significance for this time period for Vecna. In the play, The First Shadow, it's revealed that Joyce, yes, the Joyce, had organized a school play. And I actually pulled something up for you guys to see. When Max is traveling through the memories in Vecna's mind, when she's telling Holly about it, she goes into Hawkins High School, but it's in the year 1959. She picks up a flyer off of the floor that somebody had crumpled up and thrown away. And this is that flyer. It is for the play Oklahoma, and it says, directed by Joyce Maldonado, Friday, November 6th, 1959. Take a look as to who it's starring. James Hopper Jr., Karen Childress, Patty Newby, who is Bob's sister. Yes, that Bob. Alan Munson. Yep. And Ted Wheeler. And introducing Henry Creel. So we get a whole lot of information just from this one little piece of paper. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, no way. So yes, and Steve Harrington's dad threw it away. Yes, Kennedy, I caught that too. So Henry went to high school with Joyce and Hopper and Karen and Ted. Like, what? But there have been a few hints here and there that Holly could have been a little more in tune with the fact that something otherworldly had been happening in Hawkins before the Demogorgon attacks her and all of that. She noticed the flickering lights multiple times. In season 3, she notices the trees moving when the Mind Flayer is going to attack the kids at the mall. And when the gates open in season 4 and the earthquake happens, it kind of seems like she is a little bit more aware of what's going on than everybody else. But we quickly learned that Holly was befriended by an invisible man that she refers to as Mr. Whatsit. And can I tell you that as soon as we saw her waving out her window at nothing, like immediately I was like, Vecna. Like I've said already, for some unknown reason, Vecna has kind of changed his approach when it comes to abducting these kids to achieve world domination. When Will was taken, he had no chats with Mr. Whatsit beforehand. It was always scary for him. And he saw the true Upside Down. This time around, it seems like Vecna has made this decision to appear to his victims before taking them. But he's not only appearing to them, he's appearing as Henry in an attempt to obviously not look like a monster. But why the change? What is different about Holly that is making Vecna stash her inside of this memory? She is obviously very much in the Upside Down. Will sees her attached to the vines and one going into her mouth. This, like, the same thing that happened to him, but like, he wasn't given somewhere warm and fuzzy to mentally hide while all that was going on. Why go through all of this trouble in the first place if he already has Holly exactly where he wants her? Didn't you say having Will taken Will changed him? Yes, that's a good point. That is a good point. I get what tree you're barking up, Melissa. That's a fair point. But when we see Holly before she is taken into the Upside Down, she is reading the book A Wrinkle in Time, and which is such a fitting book given the fact that the Upside Down is literally frozen in time. The date, and it is frozen on the date of Will's initial disappearance, to be exact. And after meeting Max, Holly explains that the overall plot of the book to her and how it relates to their situation. In the book, there is a dark planet called Camazotz, where no light shines, and it serves as a home for a disembodied it, an evil force that wants to impose darkness upon all, aka the Upside Down and Vecna in a nutshell. There's also a character in the book named Mrs. Whatsit as well. And at the end of the 4th episode, Vecna tells Will that he chose Holly and all the other children because they are all weak, easy to manipulate and control in his attempt to destroy the world as we know it. But I am so pleased, like I said, to have the Max reveal be tied to Holly and have them like band together in all of this. But last thing I'm going to go a little further into would be Will's powers and what they mean. So, turns out 11 isn't the only one with psychic abilities in Hawkins. Besides Vecna, of course, but he's in the Upside Down, so we're not counting him in this contest. But we all knew that Will was tied to the Upside Down, and Vecna specifically, in a way that no one else was, not even 11. He is able to feel Vecna when he is close by. And season 2 is the most blatant display of that, like how woven into the fabric of the Upside Down and Vecna that Will actually is. Like, the shadow monster literally goes inside of his body and starts spying on everyone. He coughs up an interdimensional slug that eventually turns into Dustin's pet demo dog, Dart. He referred to now memories, but he couldn't exactly explain what he meant by that. And now we've got some answers. Noah Schnapp, aka Will, drew a very interesting comparison that crossed my mind after watching episode 4 and seeing the full scope of Will's abilities and how he was able to tap into them. It is obvious that Will and Vecna are connected psychically in some kind of way. Like, there is essentially a part of Vecna within Will himself. And Noah referred to the relationship that plays out between Harry Potter and Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter series to Vecna and Will's relationship. And if you have lived under a rock your entire life, Harry Potter, or Voldemort's lifelong mission within Harry Potter was to kill Harry because of a prophecy that he heard when Harry was born. And when he attempts to kill Harry, he fails. Essentially, like, a little sliver of Voldemort goes into Harry and resided in Harry until Harry killed Voldemort in the final book movie. But Harry kind of had to die in order for Voldemort to truly be defeated. Only the part of Harry that contained Voldemort died. Like, Harry Harry himself was spared after that part of Voldemort died. But it's a very interesting comparison to make. I get why he says it. Like, Harry very much had the ability to feel Voldemort exactly the way that Will feels Vecna. And despite the fact that Will and Eleven now both share having powers in common, it's been made very clear by the Duffer brothers themselves that these powers and abilities are very different. Eleven's abilities come from within her. She was born with them, so they say. But as for Will, he gets his abilities by channeling Vecna's, by tapping into Vecna's. Like, since they are sort of attached, like, so they're sort of attached to one another in a way. Like, the Duffer brothers have said that, oh wait, hold on, I'll get to that in 1 second. And by the way, that when Will took control of the Demogorgons, when they were trying to kill Robin, Lucas, and Mike, the way that he killed them, the way that he made their limbs snap like that was exactly what it looked like when Vecna killed those kids in season 4. So to me, that was like dead ringer that he's getting his powers from Vecna, 100%. That was so badass. Yeah, it was. That was awesome. But so in various interviews with the Duffer brothers, they have said directly that Will's abilities stem from his direct connection to the hive mind and Vecna. Therefore, he can only access these abilities when he is physically near the hive itself. So, and if Will had never been taken into the Upside Down to begin with, his powers wouldn't exist. So his abilities are very different than Eleven's. And I have been wondering why Vecna does not kill Will during their face-to-face meeting at the end of episode 4. He makes it very clear to Will that he is the reason why Vecna was able to even realize the true scope of his abilities. Like, it opened the door for Vecna to use children in a similar way. But did he keep Will alive because he needs Will for something else? I'm guessing yes, given that in the trailer we hear Vecna say, "You are going to help me one last time." And I'm assuming that that line is in reference to Will. I think he still considers Will a tool of his still. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, Melissa. I agree. So to start to wrap things up, I will pose 2 questions to all of you that I have, and I hope that they will be answered. So who is truly in control of everything? Is it Vecna or is it the Mind Flayer? Vecna appears to be the big bad, like the villain in this story as of now. But is he truly the one in control of everything? For those of you who haven't haven't seen the first shadow or heard of the first shadow, like I said, and I've already touched upon it, the play itself pretty much confirms that the Mind Flayer has been in control of Henry since 1959, and it possessed him just like it did Will in season 2. Unlike Will, though, Henry allowed it to take control of him by the climax of the play, and he ends up hurting someone that he cares about, which are not his parents. Also worth noting, in the play, Henry directly says to Joyce, "You need to learn to do whatever it takes to protect what you love." And someone on Reddit theorized that this line in the play directly foreshadows the fact that Vecna eventually chooses Will to take into the Upside Down, and that the Mind Flayer is the one that made him do it. And in the play, when Henry is transported into Dimension X, he comes across that shadow entity. When we see 11 force Vecna into what we know is now the Upside Down, he sees the same entity. And then he manipulates that entity into the shape that we see in the show, the Mind Flayer, or the Shadow Monster, whatever. The big thing. You know what I mean. Henry just created like the physical look of what we are seeing in front of us. So like after Henry is transported back into the real world, he is then manipulated by that entity to do horrible things. So the play very much shows that the Mind Flayer is preying on young Henry. Way back when in season 2, Dustin tells the party that the Mind Flayer is an unknown monster and is so ancient that it doesn't even know its true home, meaning it's existed a lot longer than Vecna has. And in season 4, Dustin, once again, tells the party that Vecna is the Mind Flayer's 5-star general. And Dustin tends to be right about these things 9 times out of 10. So could the endgame villain be the Mind Flayer after all? Maybe Vecna is under the impression that he's more powerful than the Mind Flayer and he's pulling the strings. And we will be shown in volume 2 that Vecna was never really in control at all. My other question, why does the military even have interest in the Upside Down in the first place? Is the military under the impression that 11 like somehow controls the Upside Down? What do they think finding 11 is going to help them with? Like, what is their goal in being inside the Upside Down? What do they want to achieve there? Is there an answer? Is it just something that's occurring in the show that doesn't really have deeper meaning? And I also just wanted to share this little tidbit that I saw when I was reading some interviews the other day. The Duffer Brothers actually cast their high school drama teacher as Holly and Derek's elementary school teacher in the show. The one that you see in the barracks with the kids. That is their high school drama teacher. So super cool that they gave her that shout out. And I saw some people saying after Karen and Ted didn't end up dying that like they have no faith that like nobody's gonna die, like they want a bloodbath, all this yada yada yada. But the Duffer Brothers have specifically stated that Stranger Things is not Game of Thrones. Like we are not going to be getting a Red Wedding episode of Stranger Things. And for those of you who don't know, in the Red Wedding episode of Game of Thrones, like the king, the queen, the king's mother, a bunch of really important people all die in one room in a matter of seconds. So, and it's very graphic and very brutal. So that's not happening in this show, which I'm kind of happy about. And I wanted to also just mention really quickly the significance of rolling a 20 in the game of Dungeons and Dragons. Apparently, rolling a 20 is what you want. That's how you win. So now, in the show, we have 11 plus 8 plus 1, which the 1 could be Henry, but it also could be Will. So could that mean that they now have all the pieces they need to defeat the villain in this story? Yay, D&D. Just started playing. It's so fun. The show actually made me want to play. I have a very, very vivid and creative imagination, and shows like this give my imagination so much room to run free and have so much fun. So maybe I should try playing D&D too. But all right, guys, that is about everything that I've got for the first 4 episodes of the final season of Stranger Things. And I am beyond excited, foaming at the mouth for the next episodes to drop, which will be 3 on Christmas. And then the series finale on New Year's Eve, which to anyone that was able to snag tickets to see the finale in theaters, I am endlessly jealous of you. Because I will be traveling for the holidays, I will not have time to break down the Christmas trio separately. So after the finale drops on New Year's Eve, I'm going to cover all 4 episodes in one shot, in one big breakdown. And we will be back the first week of January to do that. The date is still to be determined, but I will let you all know soon. But in the meantime, I want to hear your thoughts about all this. Like, what are you most excited to see in the next episodes? Are there any theories that you have on what might play out? Drop a comment and let me know. Now, it was great seeing you. I'm also excited. It was good to see you too, Angie. Thank you for being here. But I hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday season and enjoys their time with friends and family, get some, relaxing done. Have a good December, y'all. Like I said, I will be back the first week of January to dive into the final 4 episodes. As always, thank you so much for watching and for listening. And with that, until I spill again.